So, back for another VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Armarouge, a Pokemon I thought was probably going to be B+-ish on my very first thoughts. And then I actually started looking at it, and then it was definitely at least an A. And then, as I looked at it even further, it crept its way up into S, and I think this Pokemon is actually quite strong indeed. There's a lot of different things that it can do. It's not a one-trick pony in the slightest, even though most people at the moment have tended towards just going for Trick Room Life or Expanding Force. Don't worry, that set is coming up, but it can do a lot of other things. So this is going to be a set that I think could be splashed onto just a general team. So rather than, oh, this is Armarouge, go to click Trick Room and off we go, this can be a dual mode Armarouge. So the idea is to pair this with other forms of faster speed control. Maybe go for Tailwind, because this outspeeds a Dragapult in the Tailwind if you have missed this much speed investment. But then it's going to be slow enough that if you want to click Trick Room against the somewhat faster teams, you can, but it's also going to outspeed the Pokemon that do want to be in Trick Room, so you just don't click Trick Room in that regard. And then it gets Wide Guard, so Wide Guard is going to be a very good move. There seems to be a lot of spread moves going around, so Wide Guard is going to be very nice. Armor Cannon is a very good move. It's a special close combat, so already very good. Going to do a lot of damage. And then Psyshock so that you can hit on the physical side as well, because you may not be pairing Indeedee with this Armarouge. If you do have Indeedee on your team, definitely change it to Expanding Force, but Psyshock, if you don't have Indeedee, seems pretty good, so you can hit both on the physical and on the special side. So yeah, weakness policy on this Armarouge, because it's got the bulk to be able to take a super effective hit, and then it will be able to get some significant damage going as well. There's also going to be another weakness policy set as well, but this one is just for a general splash onto a team kind of thing, because it's got a reasonable amount of weaknesses, so it can make use of the weakness policy pretty comfortably. Loads of different items that this could be. If you're going for just a general one, then Citrus Berry is going to be a very good choice as well. That will bulk it out significantly. If that is going to be the case, then I would recommend doing that instead, so you have an even number of HP in case you get Super Fanged, because Super Fang does seem to be potentially a move again. And well, I was going to say you may have Ruination, but we may not have the Legends. So, but if you do have Citrus Berry, definitely have an even number, so it activates on a Super Fang / Ruination if that does end up existing, because, you know, VGC moveset will come out in the future, and this is in the past, so, but definitely have even numbers if you have the Citrus Berry. Otherwise, go back to this, because it survives the Garchomp Earthquake, even just with not even any defensive investments, and that was my main benchmark there. Hits the 11N, so that you get the extra benchmark. Speed is to outspeed the Dragapult in the Tailwind, and then the rest was put into special defense. So there are a lot of other items that this Armarouge can be. I'm not going to go through all the items, because there are so many good ones that it's pick your favorite, but just my initial recommendation is weakness policy on this set, but loads of good ones to take a pick from. Here's another set that is also weakness policy, but this is the other ability. The previous one was Flash Fire, so you're immune to fire moves. That's really good. And you get a boost if you get hit by them. Weak Armor is going to be, the essential idea is that you beat up yourself with this one. Because then you beat up yourself, you get the +6 speed, and you get the weakness policy activated as well. You don't need too much speed investment to be able to do that, and you want to be able to OHKO things, so just go max special attack if you are going with this set. Because you're going to be underspeeding, not underspeeding, you're going to be outspeeding. That's the word I'm looking for. So many things, so you don't need too much speed, but this is still so that if you're not going to beat up yourself, you're still reasonably fast. And the bulk doesn't matter as much, because you're going to go to -6 defense. Not -6 defense, -4 defense. So +6 speed, -4 defense. So then your bulk on the physical side doesn't really matter, and then you'll take some hits on the special side, but this is mainly just so you can set up and sweep. And that seems pretty reasonable to be able to go for when you are committing hard to it. So I recommend the Fire type, Terra type on the initial one, because Armor Cannon is going to be your strongest attack. You don't particularly want to defensively Terra type, because you want a weakness policy on this one. And this one here, the idea is to beat yourself up, switch into an ED, and then +2 Expanding Force in the Psychic Terrain, and then you definitely OHKO everything, and that's put on top of with the Psychic Terror type as well. So that is the weakness policy Armarouge. This is the one that you've probably been seeing the most. I'm going to mention this set because a lot of people have defaulted to this, and it is entirely reasonable. You definitely do pair this with Indeedee, so it's just basically go for Indeedee Armarouge, follow me Trick Room, and then Expanding Force Helping Hand, and then you may be sorted, and you may just sweep in the Trick Room. So Heat Wave and Armor Cannon, we're going to be rounding it off, because Expanding Force is your strongest spread type attack. Heat Wave is an alternative spread type attack if you don't want to go going for Expanding Force / Indeedee wasn't on the field, or there's no Psychic Terrain or whatever. And yeah, you'll always have Armor Cannon, so that's going to be hitting very hard. This is very reasonable. It is probably the most basic Armarouge can be, but it's still very, very good, and still entirely reasonable on a team, but probably a team that is just committing to hard Trick Room. I wouldn't just splash this Armarouge onto a team. I would definitely splash this Armarouge onto a team. But this one is also pretty good. It is fast enough to make use of the Choice Scarf. So 75 base speed, good enough. Will outspeed pretty much everything that's relevant except for Dragapult. You can't quite get that, unfortunately, but it's going to be outspeeding most things. And it does have access to Acid Spray. So that's quite good on Choice Scarf Pokemon. We've seen it before. Choice Scarf Nihilego with Acid Spray got top 8 at the 2017 World Championships. So it is definitely a worthwhile move to have in that slot. I would recommend that / Trick. To trick Choice Scarfs on things as well. Definitely have Armor Cannon, definitely have Heat Wave, and then maybe Expanding Force if you have Indeedee, but Psyshock if you don't. And then probably go for Trick / Acid Spray. Also potentially Destiny Bond is also quite good on Choice Scarf's Pokemon as well, especially against in Best of One or in the first game where they don't expect your Armarouge to outspeed them. You catch them at a Destiny Bond and suddenly their Pokemon's KO'd. So, but I would probably default towards Acid Spray. But then, loads of good moves. Like I said, this is a very flexible Pokemon, and way better than I initially gave it credit for. So, yeah, I think I'm entirely reasonable in giving this an S rank, and I did not expect that going into this.